If you are new in a relationship or you are starting to do some dating again, this video is for you. I want to give you all some red flags for a potentially abusive relationship. I want to be able to explain some of the early signs that you can pick up on so that you can say, this is going in the wrong direction. This is not healthy. This person is not healthy. And I need to get out really fast. Okay? So first of all, I want to preface this by saying that there are early signs to an abusive relationship, but when we're in a honeymoon phase, or even just early stages of a relationship. Many people I've worked with, they were in a relationship for 10 years and there were early signs, but that person wasn't abusive for a decade or 2 decades, and then it just slowly devolved into a situation that got worse and worse, and now they felt really stuck. They were married, they had kids, they were committed, and now, it's a much more difficult thing to get out of. But the signs start from the beginning. They do start from the beginning. A person doesn't become abusive throughout the relationship, and they do not become this way because of you either. I must clarify this. So one thing I want to also clarify is that this video is not to victim blame. So if you are currently in a relationship where a lot of these signs are showing up, or you've been in a relationship, I am not here to blame someone for not being able to anticipate this happening to them. The whole reason someone gets away with this for as long as they do is because relationships are complex, they're imperfect, and some of it is that the fact that you would want to stay with the person and be willing to stay with someone to try to work through certain conflicts says a lot about your character, and knowing that, hey, some things we do have to overcome, and there are going to be disagreements, and there are healthy arguments and problems in a relationship, but that is very different from abuse. And as soon as abuse enters into the picture, what we're talking about now isn't just a disagreement, it's a control problem. And when there's a control problem, it means there's an imbalance in the security, safety, and wellness of the people in the relationship, and that is where it gets really dangerous. So I want to acknowledge the signs of control that show up in a relationship. Women often that I've spoken to, and I'm going to say women tending to be the survivors and men tending to be the perpetrators. Not all cases, and not all the cases I've worked with have been that scenario, but I'm just going to use that for the sake of the language that I use in this video. Many of the women that I spoke with, almost all of them said, I just never thought it was going to get this bad. And I want to start with acknowledging that they felt that way because it isn't always bad. It wasn't always bad. And that's what makes it really complicated. If this person was a monster from the start, that would make it real easy to say, all right, great, peace, I'm out. I can see who you are, and yeah, you're not really dateable. But what's complicated and confusing about these behaviors is that there are some parts of it that are actually marvelous and wonderful, and this person is a human and they're complex, and you can see many benefits to being with them, and when things are good, they're really good to an extent. And I will say, in my experience, things devolve to the point where the bad definitely outweighs the good. And obviously, if any abuse, even if 2% of the time the person is abusive, but 98% of the time they're not, what happens there in that imbalance is there's always the threat of that happening again. And that is the dangerous piece. So if there is any abusive, physically abusive, verbally, emotionally abusive, and controlling behavior that's happening in the relationship must end. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, but what if he's trying to get better? Yes, I've worked with men who've been able to get better. I've worked with women who've been able to get better. But one thing that has to happen before they heal is that relationship has to be severed, and that person has to have all control with regards to that other partner removed from them before they can begin to heal. All control must be removed, all of it. That means distance. That means space. That means years. Remember, it took them years to develop these unhealthy behaviors. It's going to take years, not 5 therapy sessions in anger management, for them to get better. So we